So here it is. Just watched it. Fresh on the minds. Bates Motel, the series finale. I'm going to go straight into the spoilers because this series as a whole, I want to tell you guys right now, the ending to the series, the finale, was good. And that's all I needed. One of the greatest horror / drama / just honoring Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. Like, Mike, this is one of the greatest series I've ever seen in my life. There's other series that you could debate about, but this is one of the greatest series out there. And you just can't deny how good the writing was in this series and how rich the characters were. So going into this episode, I wanted to see where a lot of these characters, where their fates lie. So let's start with Romero. I love Romero. I love him and Norma's relationship. It's so heartbreaking to see how much downhill he truly went. He wasn't the cleanest guy in the series, you know. Eventually, we kind of knew that his death was going to happen, especially at the series finale. I called a lot of shit that was going on in here. You know what? Let's start. I called two things that were going to happen in the series finale, and usually when I get them right, I get them right. I did say, I don't necessarily think I said my one thing in the last review, in a couple of reviews, I don't think I called it out, but I told a lot of other people before the series finale came to be, so they could kind of back me up on it. But I said that Dylan was going to kill Norman. I said that. I didn't know if Dylan was going to survive this or not, but in my heart, I was like, and I thought it was going to be a different kind of situation, how it was going to come to be. But overall, I did think Dylan was going to kill Norman. I think he knew he was the only one that had to do it. So I called that one right off the bat. The tombstone. I said on the episode, there was such foreshadowing when Norman went to go visit Norma's tombstone, and you could see her name and, of course, a beautiful saying about her. And right next to her was Norman's name with 1995 to... And it didn't say his death, of course, because he was still alive. I said that was foreshadowing, and boy, I didn't think it was going to be right in the face, but that was the ending shot of the series finale, where we see Norma, of course, what her saying, and then we see Norman's name. Nothing written for him because he was a piece of shit. He was a piece of shit in the long run, but you saw 1995 to 2017. And we'll get into Norman's character and how he is still... Even though he's a murderer, I still feel like he's sympathetic. But we'll get to that in a minute. So Romero's death, and it starts really strong, especially from the last episode, where Romero takes Norman. He gets the lawyer chick. He tells her, go. Like, he doesn't want to hurt anybody else. I always thought the handling of Romero and him getting his way, yet not killing innocent people to get his way, I thought that was very great. I love that about what they did for that character, and even though he still wanted revenge. However, the stupidity of Romero towards the end, when Norman hits him over the head, grabs his gun, kills him. I mean, I think all of us, when we were watching this, I think everybody was like, you know, those people in the theater going like, oh, don't go in there, don't go in. Like, that's exactly what Romero's situation, where you're like, why are you putting a gun in your pocket? Let Norman dig Norma out. And like, you get it. He's so heartbroken. He's so devastated. But in a realistic scene, I think this dude is so pissed, so angry. He kills Norman, and then he goes back to Norma's body, and then probably kills himself. But he beats the shit out of Norman. He thinks he's laying down there unconscious, but Norman comes back at him and, of course, kills him. I thought that was a very sloppy... I thought that was kind of sloppy writing, because that's what we've seen over and over again, and this guy is too smart to have Norman get the jump on him. So I was very disappointed in Romero's demise, but the character of Romero I absolutely loved. I did feel his heartbreak when he finally saw Norma's body, her frozen body. Like, I was like, oh man, I feel for you, Romero. I did like how his last words were like, you killed your mother. There's no hiding that fact. There's no running from it. You killed your mother, Norman. So I did like that. It was great that Norma did really shine as bright as maybe she should have in the series finale, but I appreciate that because it's not about Norma at this point. It's about Norman and what he's going to have to go through, what he does next. And it was about Dylan and what Dylan had to do next. And of course, you had Emma. And I really feel for Emma's character because she was such a lovable character in those first couple seasons. But I felt like this season, there's really not too much for her to do. But I did love that interaction, of course, with her and Norman. Seeing Norman one more time, but Norma one more time. So... but she just didn't have too much to do in the series finales. But it was all a good happy ending for her character, which I really love. And I was team Emma. I was team Emma and Dylan the whole way. But Norma, the confusing thing too was that Norman kind of snaps out of it, right? Or doesn't necessarily snap out of it. Norma tells Norman, I gotta go. Like, that's it. Like, Norman kind of realizes and admits that he did kill his mother, and I think after that Norma kind of disappeared. I like the way that it goes from the beginning. After the whole Romero incident, we are back to where we started. We're back. He starts hallucinating again. He starts thinking that they're just moving into this place. They got a motel, and I love the scene where he takes off all the caution tapes, and this family comes in, or a mother and her two kids, and he gives them a room, and then she's like, oh, what happened to your face? Like, I fell a bunch of steps. And I like how it kind of triggered with those two kids, like, oh, your son's named Dylan. I mean, how coincidental, right? But I did like it. I thought it was a nice little touch, and like him kind of remembering Dylan and wanting Dylan to come over for dinner. Now, you could say maybe Norman had this plan the whole time, but I don't think so. I think it just happened, and and I think maybe at the end of the line, like when he has the knife, I think he was never going to really kind of kill Dylan. He wanted Dylan to shoot him. I think he had that plan, but before that, I think he was truly hallucinating and thinking that, yeah, they're moving in and stuff, until Dylan kind of snapped him out of it. Dylan in this episode I've loved Dylan. I think he's probably, I don't know if he's my favorite character, but he's up there. Like, he's number 2 at least. And Dylan has just been a fantastic character. He has been the character you root for every single time he's on screen. He has this arc, and you appreciate that. The arc of this character is absolutely fantastic, especially when he gets the gun, and it kind of reminds you, like, yeah, this guy was in some risky business, but now he has a family, now he has a daughter, and that conversation with him and Emma, I absolutely loved. And that's where I kind of worried a little bit, like maybe he kills Norman, but Norman gets maybe something on him, and he goes to jail, or Dylan goes to jail. But it was self-defense, which is great. Dylan was such a bright spot in here, and then the interaction between him and Norman of this finale, that's exactly how I want it. These are the two characters that need to have the final kind of scenes, that need to play off each other, because Dylan was still hoping that. He still was hoping. He even said it, like, I wish, we can spend Christmas together. I wish you and Mom could be here for Christmas, and I wish Norma was alive. My mom was alive. I wish you were here, but I can't do it, Norman. We know the sad truth is that there's no going back. This is it. This is the line. This is all. And Norman knew it too. He's like, you're right. This is it. This is the finale. This is what we're going to have. What has to happen. I liked how Dylan sees Norma, starts throwing up. Great reaction to it. Him just absolutely heartbroken. Him just like he didn't know what was going to happen in the situation. All he knew that somebody was probably going to die. And I think the character was feeling like, I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I could pull that trigger. And he keeps telling Norman, like, don't let me do this. Don't make me do this. I don't want to do this, Norman. We don't have to go that route. But, of course, Norman wanted to go that route, I believe, towards the very, very end, when he kind of snaps out of it and he realizes, like, yes, this is not all this is real. This is what Dylan's saying. This is real, so fine, Dylan, take me out. Let me be with Mother. That's what his saying was. And then, of course, when Norman said thank you, those scenes were so powerful and so great. I was absolutely loving it. I was loving finally, the two brothers at each other. Just no words to explain. Fantastic. that was fantastic. And of course the ending shot, and of course the music at the end, and of course finding Ramiro's body. I feel like my boy Ramiro deserved a little bit more, but it is what it is. I think this episode was a great episode. I said good in the beginning, but it was a great episode if I think about it. It was a great cap to the whole series. I did think it was too predictable. I did think certain characters like Ramiro got a little bit, they could have been better handled. I did think that the sheriff should have had somebody at that house, at least go look and see if he kind of went back, because you know Norman's crazy and he'd go back to the house. So I thought the stupidity of the sheriff towards the end was kind of dumb, especially when they established that she is actually good at somewhat of her job. But a lot of great moments in this episode. I love this series. I think they capped it off at 5 seasons. Perfect. Boy, did they not screw this up? Did they just present one of the greatest series I've ever seen? And they honored everything that Alfred Hitchcock laid down, but they just took it and they ran with it, and they made it in more in depth, and I appreciate that. So thank you guys for listening. If you haven't already, check out my videos. Would really appreciate it. Like the video if you like it. Comment below. It's checkout time. No more Bates Motel. But what a series. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Goodbye.